over here, my friend. Let me tell you. Let me read your resume as you walk in here. Dave Ramsey, I might as well call him Dave Resume, has 7 best-selling books, which have sold more than 11 million copies combined. Are you kidding me? Is that real? Because sometimes I'll inflate numbers. I'll be like, ladies.
And when I grow up, I'm going to be Bobby Bones.
11 million. By the way, Total Money Makeover sold over 5 million copies. That's insane numbers. Like, there are major artists that can't sell that many records.
Yeah, if you work 25 years, you're an overnight success.
No, that I relate to. I'm so happy. I love it when you come in. You know that, right?
Man, I love being with you guys.
I even feel guilty because I ask you about.
I'm such a fanboy to
the
the show. I just listen to it every morning on the way to work. You guys are awesome.
Thanks. Let us ask you some questions. Then we'll let you lecture us a little bit. That's what we do. We feel like we can only bring in a couple times.
This is a confessional on the Bobby Bones Show.
It does feel like. So let's talk about engagement rings for a second.
Okay.
Raymundo's about to get married.
Hey, way to go, Ray. Congratulations.
He's about to propose.
Engaged, yeah.
Thank you.
So it's a big secret, apparently.
Well,
she's ready.
You're not saying
Apparently,
when, right?
Yeah.
We just don't say when, but it's obvious that it's going to happen very soon.
Okay, so the when is the surprise, maybe.
She says she would accept just a ring pop at this point. Like, she's been vocal about wanting a proposal. And you've started a ring fund, which is up to
$100.
He's got $100 in the ring fund.
Whoa.
Right.
Yeah, that's almost as big as his gambling fund. Yeah.
So what's kind of the rule? Because you see on TV, they say, what, a couple months' salary?
Yeah, the jewelry stores say 3 months, but I say 1.
1 month's salary is an engagement ring.
Yeah, and diamonds are like jewelry. They are diamonds are like, of course, they're like jewelry. Diamonds are like furniture. They've got huge markup, and so where you buy it can be very, very important. Like a diamond broker, or if you know somebody that knows a little bit about diamonds, even a high-end pawn shop, you can get stuff like a quarter on the dollar, and really legit stones in a good situation. And they, this idea that they go up in value, that's a bunch of crap. Sharon, my wife's she's got them on her fingers, or she's got them in her ears and all that stuff. And the only thing goes up in value is her wanting them. That's it.
Dave Ramsey's here. Okay, let me ask you this, because we were talking on the show about houses, and I was always told 2.5 times your salary when I first started thinking about buying a house. When you buy a house, kind of what's that number based on what you make?
Well, the most you should buy, we say, is where your payment is no more than 1/4 of your take-home pay on a 15-year fixed. And the reason for that is you want to get the house paid off, because all the studies we've done with Chris Hogan's book, Everyday Millionaire, and all the stuff on millionaires, the average millionaire is paying off their home in 10.2 years. And so you want to have the goal of getting the house paid off, because that frees up a ton. That's your biggest payment, right? It's the biggest thing coming out of your budget. And if you don't have that, and instead that goes into investing, boom, wealth happens. So we do want to get that house paid off is the goal. It's not keep a mortgage forever and what's the most I can possibly choke down. No, we don't want to do that. So get it in a position on a 15-year fixed, and then go ahead and work a little extra on it and get it knocked out in about 10.
So, because what I try to do a bit is pay off that interest.
Oh, yeah.
Boy, that's what gets you.
Man, it's real. I mean, and like Chris Hogan says, he said interest when you pay it is a penalty, and when you receive it, in terms of you've done investing, that's what's called a blessing. So we want to be on the receiving end of that stuff rather than the giving end of that.
Okay, we talked about engagement rings. We talked about houses, cars. I was reading this thing that you had posted on social media. It says you shouldn't own anything with a motor that's worth over 50% of your annual income.
Yeah, really all the things with a motor added together, motors and wheels. And, I've got boats and Sea-Doos and cars. I love cars. I'm a guy. I love cars, especially loud mufflers. I drove down here in my Raptor, that kind of stuff. So, got mud all over it. So I'm that guy, right? But and the problem is the stupid things go down in value, like a rock. That's where Chevy gets that. I mean, they go down in value. It's unbelievable. And so you cannot build wealth when you're buying these huge things that are going the wrong way. So you just got to be cool about your car. Keep your total of your vehicles, including your John Deere mower, everything with a motor in it, at about 50% of your income or less.
Everything.
Boats, cars, Sea-Doos, their sisters, the lawnmower, the tractor, whatever it is you got to own, because if it's got a freaking motor in it or wheels on it, it's going down in value.
Right. Dave Ramsey is here. You say the best vacation is one that doesn't follow you home.
Isn't that true? You ever get home and you get like a financial hangover from your vacation?
That's like Christmas and vacation.
Yeah.
It's like you finish and you have
it's
all
got
these
this
bills to
bad
pay.
taste in the back of your mouth. You got financial cotton mouth. It's just like, ugh, gross. That was so fun, but I feel like a child now. I feel like I'm was inept. I feel like I was 4 years old and just threw a fit in the candy store, and now I got a tummy ache. I mean, it's just, yeah. So, but when you can go on a really cool vacation, and we've lived like no one else, so now we can live and give like no one else. So now you go on vacations, and man, they're pretty cool. It's fun.
So you're saying if you're not completely financially set, maybe you shouldn't go on this crazy vacation that you have to put on the credit cards.
If you got to put it on a credit card, it means you can't afford it. I mean, you're borrowing money on vacation, really. I mean, it's gonna bite you later.
What about points?
What about points?
Yeah, I know you hate points.
Yeah. Well, I don't hate them. I just think it's hilarious that everybody walks around acting like they're getting rich on points. I mean, I've met with thousands of millionaires. Never did I meet one that go, Dave, I made it all my travel points. That was it. That was my financial breakthrough. Never meet them. They just go, Dave, we lived on less than we made, and now we go anywhere we want to go. We drive anywhere we want to drive in whatever we want to drive, and we live in a house and buy a diamond that we want to buy. But for a while, you have to live like no one else. You got to pay the price to win at anything. You guys have paid a price for the success on this show. I mean, you guys have worked your butts off. I've watched you for all these years. And there's a price to be paid to win. You show up every day doing the smart things. And that's true in the gym. That's true in the checkbook. And it's true in your career. It's true in your marriage.
Dave Ramsey is here. Everybody has a question. They've all sent a question. Amy, your question for Dave?
Yeah, so we have 2 kids. We've had them for about a year and a half, and they're in a junior high elementary school. And when should we start saving for their college, or even though they're years from it, or should we? I mean, what if they decide not to go to college, which I guess we would have to be okay with, but I don't want them to feel like they have to, and then we can use that money for something else. But do parents need to be on top of this?
Yeah, sure, because you want to have the option.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're sitting there with a pile of money, there's options. If you're sitting there broke, you don't have options. So go ahead and pile up some money and get ready, and then you can choose to be a blessing. In our case, our kids got their college paid for because they were behaving. But the way you earned the Ramsey scholarship from your dad, Dave, right, from your Rachel Cruz, right, is you were freaking walking the straight and narrow. You're behaving, because I'm not going to finance you going down there and playing beer pong.
Right.
So you got, these are good people now, and they know how to work. And they know how to save, and they're responsible young adults. That was a precursor to that. In that case, then, we weren't, quote, spoiling them by paying for their college. So we paid for their college. And it set them up to come out, of course, school debt-free, and then they get to start their lives. So it's a cool thing to have as an option.
Okay.
Isn't it weird you can be 18 years old as you talk about college and debt? And I think a lot of people run into a lot of debt quick because they say, hey, you're 18, you're not old enough to go buy alcohol, but you are old enough to make a decision to put yourself $60,000 in debt for an education.
160, yeah. And the dumb thing about it is we, the taxpayers, are doing this. Everybody's walking around saying how bad the student loan program is, how it's an epic failure, how it's a plague on society. And yet Congress just continues to write these dadgum checks. I mean, we've lost our minds. I mean, we're letting an 18-year-old go $160,000 in debt to get a degree in left-handed puppetry. I mean, this is stupid. This is just dumber than dirt. Yeah. It really is. And so we've got to stop. And it's of course, the colleges, they'll feed on this money like a hog at a trough, right? So they jack the prices up because they got money coming at them like they're printing it. And so the whole thing is seriously broken. Congress needs to end the student loan program. It's a disaster. It's an absolute disaster.
Lunchbox has like 9 questions. Lunchbox, you can ask. He has a bunch. Which one would you like to ask him first?
Well, I'd like to. We talked about motors. You said cars and boats and Sea-Doos. What is a better investment, a fancy car or a fancy boat? Which one has a higher resale value?
Probably depend on which boat or which car. You just look at it and watch it. Both of them are going to go down. I mean, like I've got Mastercraft ski boats. They're expensive, nice boats. And then I've got nice sports cars and stuff. And it's just horrible. I mean, you just have to enjoy them, and it's a toy, and it's just an expenditure like going out to eat. But you have to be able to afford to take that hit.
Because I love the water, so is it a good investment? Like, I haven't even paid off my house or anything, but should I start looking at a lake house? Like, is that a good...
Man, lake house, I got to tell you, that's my soft spot.
See, that's what I'm saying.
That's my sweet spot's my lake house. But, yeah, pay cash for the lake house after you get your house paid. A lake house is a toy.
So
it's a toy.
It's pay cash for a lake house after I pay off my house?
Yeah.
Wait, so if your house is paid off, you shouldn't... If you have a second home, like a vacation home, you shouldn't put a mortgage on a vacation home.
The whole thing is the debt keeps you from building wealth.
Okay.
And when you can stay away from payments and you're not giving other people all your money, there's a direct correlation between that and becoming wealthy. And so it's just like
Lunchbox.
it's not that you never get there, it's when you get there. And so, in our case, we saved up, and one of our first purchases of a toy like that, when we kind of got over the top, years and years ago, some of these books started selling, we're cashing some pretty good checks and that kind of stuff. Finally, I'm from Antioch, Tennessee. I grew up, not that, I wasn't that guy, but finally I got a little pile of money. We bought a $103,000 lake house, and you know what that thing's worth now? Ding, ding, right?
How much?
And so it's a lot.
Because you said how much? I don't know.
Well, probably 600, So, but that's
See what I'm saying? That's what
but
I'm
you'll
saying.
get there. You'll get there. And, in the meantime, our kids have grown up playing down there and playing on the water. Now the grandbabies are down there playing on the water. And it's a wonderful toy to have. And a lot of people do that with a beach condo or whatever. But pay cash for it. It's a toy. It sits there 8 months a year. It just sits there. And because we're
You
working.
don't Airbnb it?
Yeah, no, I don't.
Anything else for Dave Ramsey?
I don't need the money. That's the point. Yeah. So it's not, I'm not being snobbish, but I'm saying that's the point of doing it this way. Then you don't have to do junk like that and have
Other people in your
people
home.
in
Yeah.
your house.
No, I get it.
I'm
Makes sense.
OCD. It wouldn't do well for Dave to have
Yeah.
people in my house.
Amy brought up her kid's college. I have a 10-month-old. How much money a month should I be putting into an account if I'm going to pay for his college?
Well, if you did an ESA, an educational savings account, you can do up to $2,000 a year. That's $166 a month. Okay. If you did that from 10 months to 18, that'd be 18 years, 2,000 a year. That'd be 36,000 you put in. If that's in a good mutual fund, that would have grown to about 126,000. So that would send them to good state school 18 years from now.
And staying in state is the smart thing to do, right?
Yeah, sure. You go across the state line and, it triples or quadruples. And it's the same stinking school, basically. I mean,
No, some are better party schools than others.
well, this is true. But what is your goal here is the question. So, yeah.
Well, you want them to have a good time and experience life, but you also want them to get an education.
I don't want to write a lot of checks for them having a good time and experiencing life. They can write those checks.
Raymundo, question for Dave Ramsey?
Yeah, so Dave, I have 3 credit cards right now, and they're totaling like $7,000-8,000. So I'm making 3 different payments, and I keep getting these offers in the mail. Hey, do whatever, maybe it's like an $8,000 loan, and it consolidates, and then I just make one payment every month. Is that smarter?
No, the payment doesn't matter whether it's one payment or 3 payments. The total is what matters. It's $8,000, so $1,000 a month, and you're done in 8 months. Plus or minus a little interest, right? So one payment, 3 payments doesn't matter except just the inconvenience of making the payment. But the math doesn't change. 3 payments that total $1,000 is going to pay off exactly the same period of time that one payment that is $1,000 pays off. Exactly. The math is exactly the same.
But they make it sound like I can do it faster through them.
Well, yeah, I mean,
Called advertising.
because they want you to loan, they want to loan you money. I mean,
And then they're hoping that you don't end up
Yeah.
paying it off.
yeah.
So
My grandmother, don't you have big teeth? It's like
Mike D, one more question. Here's Mike D, our writer. Ask Dave Ramsey any question you want. Go ahead.
Yeah, how do they determine celebrity net worth that we see online, and are they accurate?
no, it's not accurate. I looked up Bobby Bones. It ain't even close.
Shut up. Shut up. Listen. Let's talk about Chris Hogan's book for a second.
Okay.
Tell me about that one.
That was a fun project. I started taking calls on my show and just said, hey, if you're out there and you have $1 million net worth, what you own minus what you owe is your net worth. So if you're a millionaire, if you have $1 million net worth, call me and tell me how you did it. Did you inherit it? Did you hit the lottery? Where do millionaires come from, right? It's a good idea to talk to real millionaires, not talk to your broke brother-in-law who has an opinion, right? So let's talk to real millionaires. How'd you do it? And they started calling, and then we developed it, turned it into a millionaire theme hour. And then we said, hey, we keep hearing these same themes over and over. Let's do some research because everybody believes out there that it's all inherited. And when we did the largest study of millionaires ever done in North America, over 10,000 millionaires we talked to, studied in-depth research with them, we found all kinds of very cool stuff. And then Chris Hogan did the book off of the statistics. 140 of the statistics from the study are in the book, Everyday Millionaire. But the big one was 79% of them inherited zero. Another 5% inherited under 100,000, which means mathematically that did not cause them to be a millionaire. And another 5% inherited less than 200,000 and got it so late or in the game that it didn't cause them to be a millionaire. So 5 and 5 and 79 would be 89%. 9 out of 10 millionaires are first-generation rich. They did not inherit their money. It's a lie. And the beauty of that number is that it says to a guy like me that grew up like I did, you can do it. As a matter of fact, I have done it twice. I'm so dumb I had to do it 2 times because I went broke. So, you can win if you pay a price to win. And that's what the essence of that book is. It's a hope-filled, joy-filled book. But boy, people are ticked off because they want everybody to be a victim. There's a whole political agenda around it, all this stuff of, you need the government to save you and all this stuff. And turns out what happens at your house is more important than what happens in the White House.
Well, I'm gonna wrap with this. By the way, again, the name of the book is called
Everyday Millionaires.
Everyday Millionaires. And what I would like for you to do, which I hit you about every single time before you leave, is talk about your snowball, like paying off your smallest first. Because I think if anything that we take as a group, and we talk about it all the time, that resonates with us so much. So what do you call it? Your snowball method? Is that what it is?
The debt snowball. It's quintessential Dave Ramsey. I mean, it's about a wheelhouse for me as it gets, and it's what we've taught for 30 years. And what I figured out was, because I'm a math nerd, I kept trying to fix this stuff with the math. Like we're talking about with the debt consolidation. Do I have one payment or two payments? Do I have a lower interest? I always tried to figure a way to scam my way out of it, figure out some angle. And it turns out the way you get out of debt is you pay it off. Duh. And the problem with my money is the guy I shave with. He's got issues. If I can get the guy in my mirror to behave, he can be skinny and rich, but he's got issues, So, I gotta. And when we figured out personal finance then is 80% behavior, 20% head knowledge. It's what you believe and what you do matters more than some little math trick, in other words. So we just list the debts, smallest to largest, pay minimum payments on everything but the little one, attack the little one with a vengeance. Beans and rice and beans, no life, scorched earth, no vacations, don't be on the inside of a restaurant unless you're working there. Get out of debt so you get your life back. And you got to get fired up. You can wander into debt, you can't wander out. You got to get ticked off in a good way. And when you attack that little one and that one's gone, you're like, there's one down. And chop that card, right? You tack the next one down. Every time you pay off one, the payment that used to be there now rolls over, picks up more snow. The snowball picks up more snow every time it rolls over, and attack the next one down, attack the next one down. And what happens invariably is as people go down that list, the little one, they're like, that's cool. The next one's like, The next one's like, wow. And by the time they get down in it, they get so fired up because they get hope again. Because they thought they were stuck. They thought there was no hope. They thought they were going to live a rat in a wheel their whole life. And the more fired up you get, the deeper you sacrifice, and the more extra jobs you take, and the more stuff you sell. Because I'm getting out, baby.
Hallelujah!
You get going. But when you start off, it's kind of like, maybe this Ramsey guy's got something there. We'll see. But by the time you're at the bottom, you're like preaching to the neighbors. So that's why it works, because you get more and more fired up because hope kicks in.
Man, I want more debt now just to pay it off. You got me so motivated. Run up some bills, baby. Come on. Listen, Dave Ramsey, I'm your biggest fan. I think what you do is amazing.
Well, this is a mutual admiration society around here, man.
This guy. So let's do a couple things. Again, give us tell us about Chris's book. It's called
Everyday Millionaire
by Chris Hogan. And if you're going to send everybody one of your books, of all of your 11 million Which one? A newbie who's going, wow, this Dave Ramsey guy knows what he's talking about. Like, which one is the beginner guide to kind of getting out of debt?
The Total Money Makeover sold the most, and I think the reason it has is it's the step-by-step guide through the baby steps. It's just the process book. This is what you do. Do this, it'll work. Just submit yourself to the plan. Do this, it'll work.
There you have it. Well, I'm going to open up 7 more credit cards today.
Just so you can pay them off.
Somehow I don't think this worked out, Amy.
Yeah,
I'm thinking I went backward here today.
I'm
not
passionate
sure.
about paying off debt, baby. Dave Ramsey, at Dave Ramsey. He's a great follow on Twitter as well. Always great to have you, my friend.
Thank you, sir.
There he is. Dave Ramsey, come back in a second.